The Sahel vs. The Hague. Africa's boldest break with the ICC. The world is watching the Sahel. That vast stretch of land south of the Sahara that cuts across the heart of Africa. To many outsiders, the Sahel is just another troubled region, plagued by coups, jihadist insurgencies, and poverty. But what is unfolding now in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger is not just about domestic politics. It's about sovereignty, justice, and who gets to decide the fate of nations. On September 22, 2025, the juntas ruling Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger stunned the international community by announcing their withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. They called it a neo-colonial tool of repression. A court that lectures Africans about justice while turning a blind eye to powerful states who commit crimes with impunity. For the first time, a bloc of African states didn't just complain. They walked out. This is the story of why the Sahel has broken with the ICC. The historical forces behind it. The arguments from both sides. And what this seismic shift means for the future of justice in Africa and beyond. Who? Where? What? The Sahel is a region of strategic importance. From west to east, it spans Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, and Sudan. But our focus is on Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. These three countries form the Alliance of Sahel States. OAS. A military and political bloc born out of a shared rejection of Western influence and a growing partnership with non-Western powers, especially Russia. Since 2020, all three have undergone coups. Civilian governments collapsed under pressure from insurgency, corruption, and economic failure. In their place, young military officers, Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Goïta in Mali, and General Abdourahmane Tchiani in Niger, seized power. They are not just military leaders. They have styled themselves as defenders of sovereignty, channeling the spirit of anti-colonial revolutionaries like Thomas Sankara. The ICC, headquartered in The Hague, Netherlands, was established by the Rome Statute, 2002, as the world's first permanent international tribunal to prosecute individuals for the worst crimes: genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and aggression. Its promise was global justice. But 2 decades later, its reputation is contested, especially in Africa. The breaking point. The withdrawal was announced on September 22, 2025. For Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, this was not an impulsive move but the climax of years of frustration. They accused the ICC of 1. Selective justice. Almost all of the ICC's first prosecutions were in Africa, even though atrocities elsewhere, Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine, Yemen, have gone largely unpunished. 2. Political instrumentalization. They claim the court is manipulated by Western powers, using the language of justice to discipline weak states while shielding strong ones. 3. Infringement on sovereignty. The ICC can override national courts if deemed unwilling or unable to prosecute. For the Sahel juntas, this is unacceptable foreign interference. 4. Failure to deliver. In Mali, despite years of ICC investigations, insurgency still rages and victims see little justice. Only 2 high-profile convictions have occurred. In a fiery joint statement, the Sahel leaders declared, "The ICC has become a neo-colonial instrument of oppression against Africa. We will build our own justice systems, rooted in our culture, our values, and our sovereignty." The legal realities. Here's where things get technical. According to the Rome Statute, withdrawal is not instant. Once a country notifies the UN Secretary-General, the exit takes effect after 1 year. During that year, the state is still bound by ICC obligations, and even after leaving, the court retains jurisdiction over crimes committed while the country was still a member. This means that the ICC can still prosecute Malians, Burkinabé, or Nigerians for crimes committed before September 2026. The Sahel can walk away, but it can erase the past. Motivations behind the exit. Let us dig deeper into the real drivers. Sovereignty first. After centuries of colonization, the juntas argue Africa must govern itself, including justice. They want to replace imported law with indigenous justice mechanisms. Perceived anti-Africa bias. Out of the ICC's first 10 cases, 9 were Africans. To many Africans, this looked less like justice and more like racialized targeting. ICC's failures. Despite investigations in Mali since 2013, the violence worsened. To the juntas, the ICC is all bark, no bite. Geopolitical realignments. As France and the EU retreat from the Sahel, Russia and other non-Western partners are stepping in. Breaking with the ICC is part of a larger pivot away from Western-dominated institutions. Critics push back. Not everyone agrees. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and other watchdogs warn that the withdrawal could leave victims voiceless. The ICC often steps in when local courts can without it, survivors of war crimes may lose their last hope for justice. Encourage impunity. If soldiers, militias, or even state officials commit atrocities, will their own regimes prosecute them? Doubtful. Erode fair standards. Indigenous systems may sound good, but will they meet international standards of fairness? Victim protection and accountability. One rights group called the move a betrayal of the Sahel's victims. ICC in the Sahel. The ICC has a long history in Mali. In 2013, Mali's government asked the ICC to investigate atrocities in the north. In 2016, Ahmed al-Faki al-Mahdi was convicted for destroying historic Timbuktu mausoleums. 9 years. In 2023, Al-Hassan Ag Abdul Aziz was sentenced to 10 years for crimes including torture. Yet despite these high-profile trials, Mali remains trapped in violence. Critics argue that trials in The Hague do little for people in Gao, Timbuktu, or Mopti who still suffer attacks. Historical roots. The distrust runs deeper than today. Africa's relationship with international justice is scarred by colonial history. Colonial regimes imposed alien legal systems, punishing Africans while excusing European crimes. Post-colonial institutions, often Western-funded, continued this asymmetry. The ICC, despite being global, is seen as carrying forward this colonial DNA, policing Africa while sparing the West. For many in the Sahel, withdrawing is less about today's prosecutions and more about breaking a centuries-long cycle of external control. What it means is, the consequences could be huge. 1. For justice, victims may face a legal vacuum if indigenous mechanisms fail. But if the Sahel creates credible local systems, it could inspire other African nations to follow. 2. For the ICC, losing 3 states at once weakens its legitimacy. If others join, the court risks being seen as irrelevant outside Europe. 3. For global politics, this accelerates the Sahel's pivot away from the West. By rejecting The Hague, they are sending a loud message. We will no longer play by your rules. 4. For Africa, the move could trigger an African debate. Should justice be global? Or should Africa create its own continental court? Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Please like, subscribe, and comment to keep support this channel. A historic gamble. The Sahel vs. ICC is not just a legal dispute. It is a battle of narratives. To the juntas, this is sovereignty, pride, and anti-colonial defiance. To critics, It is impunity dressed up as independence. History will judge whether this gamble delivers real justice for the Sahel's people, or whether it becomes another chapter in Africa's long struggle between freedom and accountability. Either way, the world will remember September 22, 2025 as the day the Sahel said, "No more to the ICC."